All right. Hey, welcome to the Go for CEO channel, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on board today and listening to another great story of a CEO and thinking what it takes to become a CEO, right? Zero startup to 25 million revenue. Today, another special guest, related to one of our other guests, Matt Willoughby from Strategic Business Consultants, and really just incredible story of a couple that are doing two dynamic different things in business. And Amy was so nice to give and gracious to be able to be on the podcast today and the YouTube also. So we're going to start off with just some great stories about where she comes from, what it really took to build her practice, the Balance Wellness Collective practice, and share with you a little bit about kind of what she's doing with marketing, operations, and all the other venues or things that really create a business and starts to become an entrepreneurial spirit. So, hello, Amy. Welcome to the Go for CEO channel.
Hi. Thanks for having me. So I'm excited to talk with you today.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on board, and we'll have a quick or good conversation here, 45 minutes to an hour, and really just dive into all the great things that you've done at Balance Wellness Collective. But why don't we start with kind of what I share or ask everybody to start with is a little bit of your background, kind of what got you to that point, some of the industry experience that you created before you started your practice.
Sure. So I've been licensed in the state of Illinois for about 10 years now. And I went to graduate school in California near San Francisco in the Bay Area. I have an undergraduate in art therapy, and so I kind of always knew I wanted to be in the holistic helping sort of profession. So that guided my choice of my master's program, which is a marriage and family therapy degree. And I really chose MFT over other licensed mental health degrees because it's more systemic. So instead of thinking of an individual as an individual client, we think of the individual in a system. So when somebody comes in and they're talking about their depression or their anxiety or whatever, I'm always thinking about, all right, but what's going on in their life that may be making that worse, right? So what's going on with their finances or their spouse or their children or their living situation or their work, right? So we think of people in kind of bigger systems, and then the way that we help clients in the practice is in that systems model as well. So I work really closely with pediatricians in the area, and they refer children clients to the practice, and we get calls for little kids all the time. I've even had a 3-year-old on my caseload recently. But the answer is yes, we'll work with your child, and we're excited to work with your child, but you're also going to be doing family work because there's only so much we can do in an office with the child, and then we're sending them to their environment at home. And so real change happens with that kind of systems work. And I think that's the difference in the practice. MFTs are huge in California. Marriage and family therapists work in schools, they work in hospitals, they work all over. And so when I moved back to Illinois after having that experience, I realized that there was a huge gap. Not only was marriage and family therapy not as recognized, we don't even have a strong organization underneath this license, but then it just took a lot of client education too, for people to understand what it was versus a social worker or a licensed professional counselor, etc. So
Neat.
That's kind of the underpinnings of it.
No, yeah, it's great foundation, and thanks for kind of laying out that foundation so our our subscribers and people joining us today can really kind of learn and be ready to take some good notes, hopefully. So
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, so you get your degrees. I mean, you go through that battle tested scenario that a lot of people have to go through to get to your level. What's the beginning sides of kind of how you're forming yourself to become the person that you have become now in business ownership. But did you start at a big corporation or I guess big practice, I guess you would call it, and how did that movement go into where you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always say that therapists kind of have to do their time, right? Because we have this postmaster's 2,000 hours that we need to get licensed. And so many people start out working. You don't go from graduation to private practice. It's just not the trajectory. So I worked in nonprofit for a lot of years, and that's kind of where the philosophy for the practice was built. I worked in a residential facility for children, and my caseload was kids that did go home at the end of the day versus were strictly residential. And so that was challenging in so many ways. But what I realized is that, my degree that I just spoke of was so important because there were not enough therapists doing this family work, right? So it was kind of built on that. And then I have a certification EMDR, which is this trauma treatment. And so again, it was similar from that experience. It was like, okay, but we're really like housing these children and we're medicating them heavily, and they're not really getting to the root of the trauma that is causing them to be in residential or into such a strict facility in the first place. So then I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this. So I got my EMDR certification, and then I worked for a psychiatrist in a private practice. So I learned a lot about med management and the psychiatry side of it. And then I learned mindfulness along the way. So I was working for him in a private practice. It was just him and I. And then I worked in another 2 private practices after that when I moved to Illinois. And what I realized is that I was sitting in business meetings with these practice owners, building their practices for them, when I've been working in private practice for probably about 6 or 7 years at that time. And I was like, okay, enough's enough. Like, first of all, operationally, I don't think that things are going the way that they should. Secondly, like, I want to build a practice with my values and the center around, this family work and the systems work and this trauma work that I'm really passionate about. And I always felt like when I was working for somebody else, I was almost like held back. Like, we're going to give you the clients that we want to give you. We're going to give you the kind of caseload that we want to give you. And so, you kind of learn along the way what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And I kind of took what I learned in managing a practice and building a practice and just decided to jump off the cliff and do my own thing. So.
I love that word. That sounds like an all-in moment. So what was maybe just that I know you described, hey, I started to realize that I keep on working for people, building their practice. You got into management. You didn't really agree with some of the operations or even just the way that they were pursuing it in the marketplace. What was that, I guess, that critical moment? And did you, I guess, also evaluate the money that you needed to start this practice, the time frame that it was going to take to build up a clientele, to generate the revenues, compared to possibly the salary that you already had? What were some of those dynamics in your mind, and how did you plan that out?
Yeah, I think I did have a final straw moment, like most people do. I had a friend that opened a private practice, and I had been thinking about this for a while, and she actually put a new location right by my house, and somebody told me about it, and I was like, what? And so I took a drive, went and saw the sign going up right by my house, and I was like, all right, if she can do it, I can do it, and that's it. So I actually started the practice pretty frugally. You just talked about finances, so I actually started seeing clients out of my home. When I bought this house, it has an office, and so the plan was I had contractors in, we were going to build another door, etc., and I was just going to work out of my home. And then very quickly, entrepreneur brain kicks in, and I wanted to hire somebody. So I hired a practitioner, and then that got kind of weird. She was in my house. Nat and I have kids, so the kids were here sometimes. There was some noise, and eventually I was like, okay, that's too weird. Like, enough's enough with that. So basically, it went really, really quickly after that. I was actually on a vacation with my kids when I signed a lease on my space. So I found a space. It's very large. We have 16 offices. So I found the space, furnished the space, hired about 20 practitioners, and just kind of opened up shop. And did I have, an idea of that kind of startup period? The answer is yes. Does anyone really realize like how much effort that is, or how severe that is at first? I would say no. Most people are pretty naive about that. But I think because I opened it at first in my home, at least I had a little bit of traction. Like, I had clients, my associate had clients, so at least I had 2 therapists working with full caseloads before the big office opened.
Now, was that transition, did it have any, non-competes to it? Just to kind of give us a little bit of a snippet before you jump all in. You get motivated because one of your colleagues starts her own thing, and you're like, man, I can do the same thing, which is awesome. But did you have any legalities to move some of those clients? How did you frame that? And then also, we'll go into a little bit of the marketing side of things, of how you started to establish yourself. So that first one is, did you have any non-competes, and how did you deal with that? Or were you able to just move your clients over and start in your house?
I did have a non-compete. My house was just outside the border. Then the office is a little bit farther than that. But I also had a very young child at the time. I think I was actually pregnant when I worked in the last practice, and then kind of stopped doing that and started my own thing during that transition time. Like, had a baby, opened the practice, and then it kind of went away. So yes, there were non-competes to think about at first, but the office that was in Elgin was not in that zone. So.
Okay, awesome. And a lot of people have to deal with that, especially in an industry that has those parameters. Could be a lawyer, could be a therapist, right? And a great thing to learn, guys and ladies, start to prepare yourself for the legal battles sometimes that you may be in a certain industry that has that, but also prepare your mind, right, to get into your own business. So you get started, you start seeing some clients. You said you had 1 associate initially. You said 20 new associates with you when you got your office. Yeah. Tell us about that. I mean, what was your recruiting efforts? Did you just have a database of people that you had built friendships throughout the years, and you went back to them, and they maybe had a little bit of angst of where they were? What was that dynamic of the recruiting side to bring on 20 other practitioners in your practice?
No, I mean, I did it the way that most people do it. I think I was using ZipRecruiter or Indeed at the time. But I had this space, I think, is maybe the draw there. It's like I had this beautiful 16-room office space, fully furnished. I knew the structure of, they were contractors at the time, so I knew the structure of how that worked. So, it wasn't pitched as like, you're going to get a full caseload right away. It was pitched as like, hey, this takes time. I've been through it. I've built my caseloads a couple of times in private practice in different settings. And so my practitioners that I brought on, it was never a full-time gig, right? Most of them had other jobs. They worked in nonprofit, or they worked in a hospital setting, or some of them even had their own private practice in the city, but obviously that was too far away. In our digital age, that's changing, and we can talk about that too. But they knew that it was going to be very part-time from the beginning. And then Balance Wellness Collective is built upon this philosophy that, there's not one size that fits everyone. So originally the practice had a yoga therapist in it. We also have neurofeedback and biofeedback. We do a full CAP QEEG brain imaging. I had an OT in there. I had been speaking to chiropractors as well. So we're almost like building this not only therapy, mental health therapy, but also like wellness services as well, as the original offering for Balance Wellness Collective.
So you had a bit of a hub and then a spoke services coming out of that. What were some things that you saw, I guess, in creating those spoke relationships? Did they stay in-house for Balance Wellness Collective, meaning in your actual location, or when you referred it out, let's say a chiropractor, did you guys have an agreement of just referral or compensation also for that referral?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was in-house originally. That kind of faded out just because we have two different payment models. So for all those alternative services, it's usually private pay.
Okay.
And then Balance Wellness Collective is about half and half private pay, and then we also accept insurance. So over time, we figured out that model doesn't really work well in-house because people were expecting these alternative services to be covered by their insurance as well. So then it did become more of a referral base. The practice is definitely built on networking. You have to be a rock star networker to build your own business, in my opinion. So yeah, I make so many referrals to holistic wellness professionals, chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncture. I have somebody that does kind of like more spiritual work that I refer to. So I think that people that now come to us trust that those referrals are very solid, both ways. I also spoke about the pediatrician. So many referrals come from pediatricians in the area as well because they trust that we're going to do a good job with the kiddos. So
I love that. Yeah. So, I guess what was one of the startup costs that you felt was kind of the biggest impact? I mean, to get a location of 16 rooms, doesn't seem to be cheap. So can you share with the audience a little bit about transitioning from your home, having been an employee technically, now transitioning your home to your own business, but then going to get a big office space? What were some of the asks and needed maybe improvements? You said there was furnished and stuff. So how did you negotiate some of that? But what were the capital needs that you needed?
Yeah, well, there needed to be some construction on the office to get it situated the way that we want to, and people have to, as a business owner, you're mostly the one paying for that. If you're not paying for that directly, you're paying for that in the increase in your rent. So that's a huge expense. Furnishing it is obviously a huge expense. Monthly costs operationally for my therapy office are pretty low. All of our technology is cloud-based. So we keep all of our notes and our calendar and everything in our system, but that is a monthly cost. It's not paper-based at all. So all of our paperwork and everything is all digital. So that's actually taken on probably, I think we're in like phase 6 of that. We've had to hire so many different software companies to really find one that's really integrated and works, because they also do our insurance billing as well. I think that's honestly, if I were to name like the biggest issue that the practice has had, it's been insurance billing and that like figuring out what system actually works, because we've had independent billing people that have just gotten overwhelmed because we have so many practitioners, and then you have to get all those practitioners credentials, and you have to make sure that they're on all the panels, and for one person, we've hired several of those one people that said, oh yeah, I can handle it, like that. It doesn't work. So we've had to hire out bigger companies to do our billing. So as far as cost goes, I think that's kind of where I wince a little bit, like thinking about how much that's actually costed us over time to switch it, as many times as we've done that in the last 4 years. So.
Well, and it's learning experiences, right? As an entrepreneur, you're going to get beat up a couple times here and there to learn, right? Get yourself in the right situation, the right relationships within business. So it seems like you went through your lumps and bumps of it, but now you've really kind of tuned in your practice. What are some things that operationally, I guess, you start to look at that are tweaks, I guess, over the last maybe 6 months and going into 2021 now, that you feel like maybe you could change or that bring a little bit more speed to the game that you are in?
Well, we've been forced into a giant overhaul in the past 6 months. But luckily, the government has backed us up. And that's the one thing that I'm going to say is good about the government right now is that they got on the telehealth train. And we were really worried that they wouldn't. And what I mean by that is that if you've had telehealth services at all during this time, you know that they are, we can bill for it and they are covering it. So at first there was this fear like, okay, everybody has to go telehealth now and we don't know if we're going to get reimbursed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I pay my practitioners up front every month. They get paid whether or not insurance reimburses us or not to keep their paychecks stable. And so there was a time where we were billing telehealth sessions and I was like, I have no idea if these insurance companies are going to pick it up and pay us or not. So huge risk, but luckily the government has approved that so that people can still have access to the services that they need.
So when you say telehealth and medical, is it straight to a company like a Blue Cross Blue Shield, or are you going through the, say, Obamacare system? How does that kind of structurally happen?
So we only accept all insurances, but we are in network with PPOs. So it is Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, Magellan. We're working on United Healthcare. We're always adding those panels. We don't do Medicare, Medicaid like some practices do. But it is the insurance companies themselves that have stepped up. We have a brand new code for billing for telehealth, and they are accepting those claims and paying out at a comparable price that they were for the in-person sessions. So as far as the shift that's happened, it's been huge in the last 6 months. It's going to continue to be shifted. At first, those first couple of weeks when everybody was kind of not knowing what they were doing, I closed our physical space just to get a grip on okay, how is this whole COVID thing going to work? And then, we are healthcare. So after those 2 weeks, it was opened back up. We had all of the procedures in place. But there still are a lot of clients that do choose to do telehealth and stay at their homes, and a lot of therapists in my practice that, have personal reasons to stay at home. And that's okay because people are still being seen. Now, the shift that we're going to make is to probably downsize that 16-room office that I just talked about, just because every time I'm in there, it's just not as full as it was. So the shifts we've had to make during COVID have been immense.
And yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Obviously, you may be watching this a year or two afterwards or 2 months into 2021, but we are, in the middle of COVID pandemic craziness that's gone on, and it's really, made impacts on a small business owner like Amy. So I hope you just got a good gist, especially if you're in this industry, what she did to shift, right, to pivot, to become a little bit more nimble. So you mentioned the practice and the building where you're at. Did you initially lease it, I'm assuming? And then are you in that time period where you are able to negotiate with the owner as to now the changes that you want to make, or are you thinking about actually even going to a different location?
That's an interesting question. We are looking at different locations right now. Again, the space is just way too big, and the management really doesn't have another space in the building that would work for us. The other thing that I've run into as a business owner that is a great discussion is just like the hoops you have to jump through legally to plant a physical location. Unfortunately, the city that practice is in has given us a really hard time. You know, last year sometime they came to me and said, hey, you were supposed to go to this hearing and you need a business license to operate in this building and all this stuff. So we had to spend a lot of money on the back end trying to fix all that mess that the city wanted us to do. It's interesting because in different municipalities you don't have all of that. I have another location in St. Charles, and there's no fee to operate a business in St. Charles. And then now what's going on with the physical building in Elgin too is during COVID, a couple of weeks ago, they said, you know, the building owner the building has mostly nonprofits in it. So there's like a low income program for people that need medical care and a low income program for people who need dental care, et cetera. And so my business is actually one of the for-profit, it's the only for-profit business in the building. And they're coming back to the owner and saying, oh, we need to raise your property taxes because of that. So there's just like all of these pieces pointing to we need to find another location right now. But I don't know, the physical location thing is interesting. Like Matt and I can kind of both work from anywhere. And so I feel like the physical locations are diminishing. They're becoming less and less and less. I just talked about like getting a new space, but really downsizing it because a lot of people will want to continue this telehealth after this whole thing is over.
Are you finding any challenges within your client base or new clients that will come about that they say, hey, I don't have the webcam or computer system or anything like that? Or are you pretty much in low to moderate income or even middle class, higher affluent? Has it been pretty straightforward? Everybody's feeling very comfortable about this technology process that you have?
Most people are comfortable with the technology. I mean, the only thing that everyone's experiencing right now are technology glitches, you know, meetings not working or internet being funny or whatever. But I even have clients that, you know, don't have a quiet space in their house because their kids are home and they're doing e-learning, and so they'll go sit in their car with their cell phone. So
all right, gotta do what you gotta do.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think what it's given us though is this amazing accessibility to mental health care, and especially for me, I'm licensed in Illinois and in Wisconsin, and so for our physical locations, it's really just blew up. Like it's opened up. Like I can now see people obviously in all of Illinois, in all of Wisconsin, and we don't have those limits anymore. So that is this amazing thing that's come out of all this.
So, you know, and that is a great point. You know, technology does open the limits of even just the way you're thinking about your business, your mind, maybe even recruiting new therapists in Wisconsin, those types of things. But, you know, let's be honest, right? We all have 24 hours in a day. So how is Amy Schillinger, this CEO of Balanced Wellness Collective, practicing your skills, right, with clientele, practicing your business skills, and also balancing, obviously, the home life? What are some clues that you could share with everybody of kind of, do you have an incredible color-coded calendar? Are you using a tool? Like, what are some things that you're doing? So.
Oh, man. Yeah, I definitely live by my calendar, that's for sure. Matt's really good at asking me at the beginning of the day what I have going on, and I have no idea until I'm looking at my calendar.
Sure.
I would say, you know, the most important thing for somebody that owns multiple businesses or is an entrepreneur or is thinking about being an entrepreneur is that organizational piece. And then also, you know, I have to speak to my own mental health, being in mental health, and I think it's so important is I have a friend, Kat, she was a trial attorney for corporations, and you can imagine that's an extremely stressful job, owned her own business, etc. And she's really good at saying, like, you know what, sometimes for your own wellness, you just have to throw money at it. And I actually agree with this philosophy. You know, like, I could try to manage all of our children and their e-learning and or I can hire a babysitter to do some of that so that I can focus on the business, right? So you have to choose what you're going to spend money on, now in the present, to forecast what you want the future of your businesses to be like. So, I do it. I even will schedule a babysitter so that I get a workout in every day. And I do that very early in the morning. I get my workout in, I have my coffee, I have my time to think and be present before I actually have to function, right?
Sure.
So it's really those building in of routines. And you'll hear that from most CEOs or most business owners, is that routine is incredibly important, and really to find one that works for you and stick with it. And for me, it's that morning workout, and then just time to myself. I'll tell my kids, please don't talk to me until I've had 2 cups of coffee.
I love it. Well, and that's so true, right? You put things into perspective. You brought up a great point that I think over the last probably 10 years, I've experienced friends that are very successful and doing very well, but they're individual, self-employed type people, mortgage brokers, real estate brokers, that type of thing. And, coming from the financial world myself, I think one of the things that you just pointed out is, and I don't know the amounts that you pay, but I would say, when you think about that $15 to $20 an hour work, if you're doing it, then you're not being able to make your $150, $200 work, that
right.
you get paid for. So what a great perspective, right? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen, especially when you start getting into business. Right now, virtual assistants is a big business. Find a virtual assistant that is in your field, that's recommended, that really could take that off your plate, that is good. You're going to have to vet them out. So that actually leads me to a question. When you started scaling kind of your administrative staff, or the people that started empowering you to go out and help you, what were 2 or 3 things that you've brought to the table in the interviewing side that you pick up on that are differentiators for the way that you want them to help you?
We're talking about the admin staff. I don't have time to babysit anybody or to hold their hand. I just don't, because I'm keeping all the balls in the air all the time. So it's really important for me to hire personalities that are self-starters, that I can say, hey, watch this video of, our system has all these videos on how to learn how to do it. I don't want to be sitting there and teaching someone how to do their job. So I really need somebody who can I will give you all the research, and we'll talk about how I want things done, but I work really well with people who can kind of pick it up and that are confident in their abilities. So I think that's really important. People that have a flexible schedule. I don't expect somebody to pick up the phone all the time. We do have regular business hours for the phone operations piece of the business, but I've found that people that are able to kind of be more flexible are kind of good team members for me. I also am very clear on what I don't do and what I do. And I think that's so important for business owners, right? I am not a numbers person on the day-to-day. I would love to look at a balance sheet weekly or monthly and see where we're at, but the day-to-day operations of the finances is something that I just don't want to take care of. And I've known that from the beginning. So I think when you're starting your own business, or you're thinking about starting your own business, it's so important to sit down and identify not only your dreams for the business and your future vision for the business, but also what you actually want to do. Because if you get caught in that day-to-day grind of the tasks in your business that you really hate doing, it's hard to motivate yourself to get up the next day and do it all over again, right? So like I just talked about the babysitters in my personal life, I have the exact same advice for entrepreneurs on the other end. actually, I'll give a tiny little backstory about Matt and I. He's my partner, but originally he was working in a different business, and I hired him to just do my books, and that's how we met. Because I knew right away that I'm opening this office. I know what I'm doing structurally, but here you go, So I think that people have fear about that, especially when they're opening a business. They try to do everything because they don't want to go into debt. But you really have to look at the future of where your business is going to be if you don't do those pieces, like you said, because I know what my hourly rate is when I could be paying somebody else that $15 to $20 an hour rate, for sure.
That's awesome. And finding a good partner, like you just said, you helped him take over that side for you and create that systematized way. So what's one of the things that you've also noticed maybe in the recruiting side of your therapist? So we talked about administrative and the help around you. Let's also talk a little bit back into, you shared, you use kind of the traditional ZipRecruiter and some of those services, but now as you keep on scaling, or maybe are you in a mindset of the way that Tele-Med's going to work? Are you in super mode to grow to 2021? And what are some systems you're going to do to scale your business with the people that are inside your business? Because they make you the money, right? They're able to see these clients.
Right. Yeah. So an invaluable resource for me in the last year has been interns. I'm working pretty closely with one of the local colleges right now, and I think it's such an amazing experience on both ends. Me from the business side, but also my clinical director role, which I love. And then they get that training that they have to. I mean, they have to while they're in graduate school, and then we talked about that post-graduate school 2,000 hours. I take on both. So I have practitioners that are doing what we call their practicum, which means they're in graduate school, but they haven't graduated yet. It's almost their internship. So I have practicum students on that intern level. They are unpaid, but they're getting their training. They're working in the practice. They're learning the private practice way of life, and then they're also getting that clinical supervision from me. And then we have those postgraduate interns where they get this interim degree before they get their interim license before they get their actual full license. And that's a different pay scale than the fully licensed therapists as well. So we kind of have the three tiers: the practicum students, the interns, and then the fully licensed professionals. And that's kind of the way that we've built the model of the business, which works both ways. Again, I think new therapists would rather get a lot of experience working in a private practice setting than those kind of wheelhouses of the large nonprofits where they have caseloads of 60 clients or something ridiculous, and they have to do their notes this certain way. It's almost like a win-win, because then they get this flexibility and training, and then we get employees at a lower cost.
Yeah, you create that spread between them and your services and what you're billing. I mean, you've got a lot of costs, right, from billing out, and especially just Tele-Med. You said that it is paying out relatively the same as the in-house payouts.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Luckily, they've stepped it up. Insurance companies are interesting because there's very wide range. We could bill $150 for a session, and then they just pay us whatever they feel like paying us. So that model is a bit unpredictable, and then when we take on new insurance companies, we don't know until it starts happening. So it's nice to have those tiered employees, so I can give the interns the clients that are coming from the insurance companies that are lower paid as well, so that the business side of that works out, the financial side of it.
And as the clinical director, then it's my interpretation, tell me if I'm wrong here, then you're kind of working with these people in those 2,000 hours, you're helping them, you're guiding them based on your experience, right? And they're becoming better at their work. Is that kind of the model of it?
Yeah, so we have weekly supervision sessions, whether it's with me or I have another fully licensed therapist on staff that sees a group of some of my therapists as well, and I pay her to do that. So it's either me or somebody else right now. But the clinical supervision are our appointments each week, and we talk about the most difficult cases. And so yeah, they're getting that different, mindset. A lot of them, some of the interns are in school, so they'll get supervision from their supervisors in school as well. So then they kind of get it like double. And it is really a training facility at that point.
Awesome. Well, Amy, as we kind of start to dwindle down the interview here, it's so excited that you were able to share so many different things and different aspects, and scaling, marketing, operations, systems that you're using, and outsourcing some of the things even on your personal life, babysitters, right, to coordinate your lifestyle and everything that you're doing. So what is your thoughts on what you're going to do next? I know that pre our interview here, you kind of shared some new innovative things. I don't know if we went through them already with Tele-Med. It sounded like that was pretty new. But is there a couple things that you'd like to share with the audience, and then we'll go into our CEO end of the interview?
Yeah, the other thing that practice does that I didn't mention is divorce mediation. So I did go through training through Northwestern to do divorce mediation, and that was kind of built upon like me seeing couples for so long, and then oftentimes, unfortunately, couples come to couples therapy when one or both partners are kind of already out the door. They're like, this thing is blown up and now we're going to try couples therapy. My belief is that it should be more preventative. It's much more effective if a couple comes in and they're like, hey, this one little thing is wrong with our relationship, or we've got this going on. Okay, that's something to work with, right? Not like, I had an affair and I moved out and we're separated, now fix it, right? So divorce mediation was kind of born out of that because, like, let's say we do get those people that come in and everything's broken. They want you to fix it. It's kind of beyond repair at that point. And then I was sending them to attorneys who kind of blow things up even more. So I was like, okay, there has to be a more holistic way. There has to be another way to do this thing. And so mediation is two people. They know the relationship is done. They've already made that decision. They're coming to the table together, and then we mediate their divorce together. They walk away with a document that they're both happy about. They both feel like is fair. And so anyway, that's just another arm of the business that I think is really important to mention. And then Matt and I are also working on performance coaching together for his clients, who are mostly business owners as well. But what we've found is that, he can get them from A to Z with the financing and the business consulting piece. But then oftentimes people have this like underlying fear or things that have happened to them, or they don't have enough accountability. And then they're holding themselves back from reaching their full potential. So then I'm coming in and working with Matt's clients on performance coaching things as well.
I love that. In fact, Matt's graciously, helped or is helping me with some of the book challenges that I've had, growing it and doing. But one of the chapters is accountability. So I'm excited to hear about that. What you guys are going to develop on that side of things. So very, very cool. And we love to end our interviews with what the Go for CEO, at least on the entrepreneur and CEO founder side, is client experience is the C. Can you share with us what is the pivotal and I guess most intriguing thing or pivotal thing about what you do with client experience for your clients?
Sure. Again, the practice is structural. So I think what clients experience in my practice that's different is this kind of like wraparound feeling of care. They're not going to come in and complain about their partner for 3 months before their therapist suggests that maybe their partner should come in for work, right? Matt's clients are not going to be complaining about how things aren't moving forward without him suggesting that they work with me as a performance coach. So they experience kind of like this like overwhelming like offer of okay, this part of my life that I thought I was going to come in and work on has now morphed into this other thing, and I'm going to get help like all around. So again, that's just a different way of thinking of things in the therapy world, and that's kind of our client experience, is that they just feel really cared for on all ends. It's more of a team approach.
What a great value proposition. Amazing to know that someone can, feel a security to have these services that you have available to them, and all the experience that you guys bring to the table. So awesome work. Now, E is employee engagement. What's that value prop that, why are therapists staying with you guys? Why are some of these other people that do stuff for you guys, why do they stay with you?
We give them a sense of ownership and autonomy. It's almost like they have their own private practice in the group practice. They have the whole structure built for them, right? They walk into a built structure. They have the office, we have the admin staff, we have the software where they do their notes and they have their calendar and everything. And so basically, here it is, here's your private practice, and they come in and they work really by themselves, mostly. It's like a high five in the hallway. I don't have regularly scheduled meetings. I don't believe in them. I rarely have things that the therapists have to go to unless it's like they have to see their clients, they have to do their notes, they have to update their calendar, they have to make sure that they're, that they get paid correctly for the services that they've done. But other than that, really what we're doing is we're creating a work-life balance for people. They have to come in, they have to do these couple of tasks, they have to do their job, and then they can go home, and they're not bombarded with this environment where I'm asking this and I'm asking this and I'm asking this for them. I really want them to function on that level of independence.
Really enjoyed that. And you kind of bled right into our next one, which is O for operational excellence. You laid the foundation there so well. Anything else that you'd love to share that is the difference maker for Balanced Wellness Collective and the operational side?
I hope that the client experience is similar to what the therapist experience, right? So again, we've gone through so many transitions with billing people and admin and whatever to find a good fit. But our ultimate goal for clients is to make it as easily accessible as possible. That's why all of our paperwork and forms, and we even have really great website components where you can fill out a form anonymously. There's so much marketing out there that's hopefully kind of leveling the playing field and saying mental health is normal and mental health is okay. That's my biggest thing coming from California. Quick sidebar is it's such a normal part of their culture, right? It's oh yeah, I went to coffee today and I saw my therapist, and my therapist talked to my other therapist, and whatever, my anxiety is really bad. And people talk about it, and it's normal. And then I moved back to the Midwest, and it's still this taboo thing. So my overall goal with this practice is to normalize mental health, to make my clients feel like it's normal and it's okay, and to not feel like an outsider, So the client experience is so important. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. All their forms, show up for their appointment. Now we have telehealth. Show up from your appointment in your pajamas with your dog and your coffee. I don't care. Just get the access to the services that you need. So.
I love it. And for me, Tony Soprano made it cool to get a therapist. So back in the day, for aging myself here, but that was one of the things I remember. I was like, therapy. Why do I need therapy? And then I've had a chance to go to a couple of therapists in my lifetime. Being married has caused me to go see a therapist every once in a while. As it should, and even just my own personal entrepreneurial life and all that stuff. But well, awesome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining the Go for CEO channel. Any how can people reach you? So please share your phone number, your website. I'll also put it obviously in the description of the video, and share this with you so that you could post it on your social medias. But what's one quick way, if you want to share with them right now, if they could email you or call you?
Yeah, sure. The website is www.balancewellnesscollective.com. wellnesscollective.com, and then the phone number is 847-450-0524. And like I said, with telehealth right now, it's really opened up. So we see people in all of Illinois and all of Wisconsin. And then outside of that, I do take private clients on like a coaching level, and that's worldwide. So
awesome. Well, hey, balancedwellnesscollective.com. Ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Amy. Anywhere in the world, you can get some performance coaching. Illinois and Wisconsin, you can get some incredible therapy and divorce mediation, if you need that as well. And we'll lay all the information above or below. And thank you so much, Amy. In 6 months or 12 months, this is our goal on the CEO Go for CEO channel, is we want to connect with you again, and I'll replay some of this stuff for myself. I'll ask you some different questions, and we'll kind of see where that journey's gone, hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.
All right. Here. Let me stop.